You just reached level 40 and the Kraken has respawned for you. This is the real deal, but you don't know how to beat it. Well, do not worry, because my name is Anthony Joshua Pros, but you could call me AP for short, and welcome back to another Battle Nations video. So first off, when facing the level 59 Kraken, we are allowed 9 units and 1 defense on the field. So the formation that we're going to be looking to use here is actually going to be 3 buoys in the very front, 2 guppies on the edges of the front row, 3 M10s because that actually does fit into the free-to-play nanos that you get within leveling up in Battle Nations. And then finally, right behind those 2 guppies, we're actually going to be putting 2 R1s as well. So that should actually fill up our 9 unit slots and our 1 defense slot. Now for my unit rankings, my buoys are rank 5, guppies are rank 3, R1s are rank 4, and my M10s are rank 4. With that being said, there's actually a reason why we're not putting any units in the deep middle is because of the Kraken head itself. So something to note with the Kraken head, it does have 2 abilities that it can use to attack with. The first ability of that Kraken head is going to be that bite attack it does have, with it attacking 1 tile and then having a little bit of splash damage right behind it. And then the second attack, where it basically just spews out a bunch of shit basically at you. This attack actually does the most amount of damage from the very middle of wherever it chooses to kind of shoot this attack, and then it slowly drops off from there. So if we're looking at a formation, if it does choose to put that attack deep in the middle, well, there's no ship in the middle spot, so we're actually fine. If it's choosing just to attack the front buoys, well, most of the damage is being spread out to the buoys and probably the guppies. The R1s are probably what's going to take the most damage here, but then again, we're not too focused on the R1s because our main hitters are going to be those M10s in the very back. And then with the Kraken tentacles, each Kraken tentacle that you see on the map is actually currently starting on a 3-turn cooldown for both of its attacks. Both of those attacks are going to be a slam attack, doing damage to 1 tile and splash damage to the tile right behind it. And then its second attack being the submerge attack, which this one is something we are trying to watch out a ton for. So coming into this fight, one big thing that I've heard from a lot of people is you want to constantly rotate your attacks. And what do I mean by rotating your attacks? Well, if we're looking at the R1, we're going to be looking to only be using that second attack because that's what does the most damage. And it's going to be the same with the M10 as well. That second attack is going to be doing the most damage for us. Now again, the biggest thing that a lot of players have told me is you want to rotate your attacks between all the tentacles, making sure you can keep all the tentacles, or at least most of the tentacles, on cooldown because of that submerge attack. The submerge attack can hit any unit on the field, and if that submerge attack does choose to hit an R1 or an M10, well, things might get a little dicey because there is a chance of breaching your ship. And with the submerge attack, it does usually a fuck ton of damage. And if it does end up critting, and if it's followed by a breach, well, you're probably saying bye to your R1s for sure, and your M10s are going to be barely hanging in there. So really, for this fight, you just kind of have to get lucky. That's kind of it. You have to rotate your attacks. You have to make sure none of the tentacles can use a submerge attack. And if it does use a submerge attack, that it's doing it on your guppies, your buoys. If your R1s are still alive between your M10s, then you're definitely your R1s. And just keep constantly rotating those attacks between the tentacles and the head. You always want to make sure you're getting the head. Because at the end of the day, you can constantly be attacking the tentacles and they'll just constantly respawn. But once the head of the Kraken is dead, then the entire fight is over. Now, typically going into this fight, if you do end up losing a ship early, that kind of tells me to reset the entire fight. Something I like to keep note of is trying to take out the Kraken's armor before losing a ship, which still is kind of hard actually, because this fight is really dependent on where the Kraken tentacles submerge attacks goes. But if you do end up losing an R1, maybe even 2, like I actually did in this run, I mean, I just gambled. That's about it. I have a lot of trust into my M10s. And especially with the M10s being rank 4 now, it definitely does dish out a lot of damage. This fight compared to the Dreadnought fight is a little bit different, where both fights are kind of RNG. It depends with the Dreadnought where the depth charge lands and how many ships it takes out. With the Kraken, it really just depends if a submerge attack attacks one of your M10s or R1s. Granted, I do think the Dreadnought fight is maybe a little bit easier because there's a lot more room for hitting the Dreadnought and cycling that depth charge. Where with the Kraken, every turn could be an absolute clusterfuck. Because you could be lucky and you have all the submerge attacks hit the buoys, or you have all the submerge attacks hit your M10s in the back line. But honestly, I still find the Kraken fight still easy. You just kind of have to get lucky with the enemy's attacks rotations. Will I be doing it free to play? Probably not. I rather just zoom through this. I got 20 M10s, so yeah, but you can do it free to play. It is possible. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!